An incredible game of defense on both sides, their team, our team. The numbers are, whatever, they're next to nothing. And we had opportunities to make big plays. And
this completes 11 to 20 passes for 209 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Yeah, but the defense was the story. It was so funny when this game started, Jason Garrett said. Are the Raiders playing the University of Miami? Right, Dot? I know it did. Looked like that with them running out of the tunnel. It certainly did with the white helmet. The incredible game of defense on both sides of their team. Our team. The numbers are, whatever, the next to nothing. And it's we had opportunities to make big plays, and we didn't hit them.
He picked out the 4 throws that I really liked from that game. Let's start with the Isaiah Bond one, because he did the thing we've been waiting for a Browns quarterback to do all season. He went deep. He took advantage of Isaiah Bond. That's something we've been waiting to see from Isaiah Bond.
QB was under duress the entire time, and so our ability to match up with their pass rush didn't work out well. And so I'm really disappointed that we weren't able to find the plays that could have given us the field change in the switch so that you have a chance to knock one in. You won't believe this actually happened. Pete Carroll just dropped the kind of brutally honest reaction that had Raiders fans sweating, Shedeur Sanders supporters celebrating, and the entire NFL looking around like, who told this man he could talk like that? One rookie gets his first start, and suddenly the league turns into a full-blown drama series. So what did Shedeur Sanders do to make a legendary coach give a reaction like that? Shedur's life significantly easier, and that's a throw that I don't know if anyone else on the roster can make. And this is what we've talked about Shedeur Sanders. That's the ability he has. He is an incredibly talented passer. I really like the pass to Fannin. Just simple, but under pressure, and those type of things. And, the Dylan Sampson one. It's like relatively an easy throw. But here's the problem. We go back 2 weeks to the Jets game. This twist is way wilder than anyone expected. Shedeur Sanders walked into his first NFL start with a calm confidence, like someone who already knew the internet had the memes loaded, the critics typing, and the pressure waiting to crash down on him. He faced it like a linebacker who hasn't eaten since midweek, ready to devour anything in front of him. And after all the chaos, the hits, the sacks, the broken plays, and a stadium shaking like a microwave full of metal, the biggest shock of the night wasn't even something Shedeur did. It was the words that flew out of Pete Carroll's mouth afterward. Because when a legendary coach walks up to the podium, looking like he just watched his entire retirement plan crash in real time, something unfiltered is coming next. And Pete Carroll didn't hold back, not even for a second. But before that now viral moment, we have to rewind to the second Shedeur walked off the field after finishing the game. You could see it written all over his face. He knew exactly what he just survived. He knew how many people were quietly hoping he would fall apart so they could go home and write long comments from their couches with perfect Wi-Fi and absolutely zero NFL experience. You could practically see the thought on his face, and they still didn't get what they wanted, and honestly, he wasn't wrong. Even with everything going sideways, Shedeur delivered the kind of "I refuse to fold" performance that's going to show up in highlight videos titled something like "They counted him out and he flipped the whole script." It all started with the offensive line dot. And when I say offensive, I mean offensive to every principle of protection in football history. Offensive to human logic. Offensive to anybody who believes in basic stability. 10 sacks, double digits. That's not a stat. That's an insurance claim. That's the kind of number that makes offensive line coaches stare at the ceiling, wondering where their career went wrong. But here's the craziest part from him in his first start. I wanted to make sure that he wasn't taking sacks. He wasn't just backing up if he didn't really have a clear idea of where the ball was supposed to go. He was throwing the ball away instead of taking sacks. He was making some of those off-schedule plays as he's rolling out of the pocket. And I thought he did all of those things in spades. In spades, he stayed calm. He hit big plays down the field. And so he showed significant growth from what we saw not only in college and preseason, but what we saw 2 weeks ago against the Ravens.
Wanted to see from him in his first start. I wanted to make sure that he wasn't taking sacks. He wasn't just backing up if he didn't really have a clear idea of where the ball was supposed to go. He was throwing the ball away instead of taking sacks. He was making some of those off-schedule plays as he's rolling out of the pocket. And I thought he did all of those things in spades. He stayed calm. He hit big plays down the field, and so he showed significant growth from what we saw not only in college and preseason, but what we saw 2 weeks ago against the Ravens. He opened up this offense to be able to push the ball down the field to give us some of those easy.
He opened up this offense to be able to push the ball down the field to give us some of those easy, even inside that disaster zone. While defenders were flying at him like they were upset about a parking ticket, Shedeur still escaped and delivered the biggest play of the night. When everything blew up around him, he spun out, rolled back, dodged 2 defenders, stepped past another one who looked like an extra in a zombie movie, and launched a pass that dropped in like it was guided. And just like that, the entire energy of the game flipped. That throw was the type of moment where a coach on the sideline goes from, "Oh no," to hold up for an opinion. And I've been a part of the Cleveland Browns organization. I played in the NFL, my brother played in the NFL, Shady played in the NFL. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. That came from ownership. That came from Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, walking downstairs saying, "Hold on a second. Why didn't you name a starter? Shedeur just won. We haven't won since October 19th. Name Shedeur Sanders a starter." Remember, Jimmy Haslam was non-committal. Kevin Stefanski was non-committal last. Night 2, starting. So how do you go from being non-committal to waking up, and all you've been on is a flight, to waking up the very next day and be like, "Yeah, Shedeur is a starter. Hell no. To wait. This kid is unreal." That's exactly what Pete Carroll saw. It was the look of a man who realized, the rookie, he tried to break all night. Didn't break at all. Meanwhile, Raiders fans were bouncing between hope, panic, confusion, and checking their blood pressure like it was part of the broadcast. Speaking of pressure, the referees suddenly decided this game was their big moment. They threw flags like they were giving out freebies at a festival. Everybody got one. They didn't even pause. Some drives didn't start with a snap dot. They started with yellow flags falling from the sky like a bargain bin parade. Pete Carroll already knew this officiating crew called the most penalties in the league. But even he looked stunned. But, like, really? Tonight, this is what you chose to do. Every time the ball left the quarterback's hand, the crowd held its breath like they were waiting to scream at the next weird bounce or wild penalty. Those plays could have flipped the whole night on its head. They could have changed the energy in one snap. But football doesn't care about feelings. It can be cold. Instead of magic, we got a full trilogy of heartbreaks. And then came the question everyone expected, the one about the rookies. Because let's be real, when your quarterback gets sacked more than a grocery bag at checkout, the public is going to start asking tough questions. Shedeur Sanders, shout out to my boy, got his first official start. Mandot got the dub over the Raiders yesterday, 24-10. Shedeur had 209.TD had an int as well. But the first Browns QB to win his first start since 1999. Damn, they've been horrible for a long time. Bro, that's a long time, bro. 26 years. Bro, the energy just felt different from the team. The vibes was high. Like you see Myles Garrett and them smiling and stuff. You ain't want my boy to shout, throwing out the pocket. Say he ain't mobile. Boom. Why not try the rookies? Fans kept shouting. But Pete Carroll wasn't playing along. He basically said, with this calm but frustrated tone, that the rookies weren't ready yet and that practice film matters more than desperation. Translation, we've tried everything. Trust me, you just don't see the footage. And the way he said it felt like he wanted the whole league to understand the kind of chaos he's dealing with. Then came the injury parade. Ankles everywhere. Center, guard, tight end. Players limping like they had just run a marathon on gravel. At one point, it looked like the Raiders' roster was being held together by athletic tape, adrenaline, and speeches from whoever still had energy to talk. But then came the moment, the question that everyone wanted to hear. Pete Carroll's evaluation of Shedeur Sanders. Pete leaned into that microphone with the energy of a man who had lived the full season in one night. He looked like someone who had survived enough madness to write a memoir on the flight home. And then he dropped the most brutally honest breakdown of a rookie start you'll ever hear without someone putting it in official quotes. But then someone brought up the bigger picture. the record 2-9. The reality that this season might be showing their way further behind than expected. ... stuff. And so I think you got everything you wanted from Shedeur Sanders in this game. And I'm so excited. I'm sure they're going to name him the starter this week because there's no reason to go back to Dylan Gabriel because you're getting what you want from Shedeur. You're seeing that growth, that progress, and I think if he continues to grow at that level, there's going to be a really hard decision if he's your franchise guy at the end of the season, or if you want to use those 2 first-round picks on it. Pete Carroll looked like a man who had just been asked to list every mistake he's ever made. But he didn't fold, he locked in. Work.